So, stereotype threat. There's one way that I like to kind of think about this idea of stereotype threat, and that's just kind of looking at the words themselves, right? So what is a stereotype? A stereotype is this rigid application or concept about what a group of people or an individual is before we even have information to confirm that, or that we look for information to confirm a stereotype that we have, right? So an opinion that we already have about folks, we look for examples that solidify what we already think about them. Right. So they're stereotype. And then a threat is something that I think may be dangerous to me. Right. And it may not even really be dangerous, but the threat of that or the thought of that or the concept that it could be dangerous to me causes a response in my behavior, right? So I have to address that in some kind of way. When we feel threatened, we respond in a number of different ways. So in this session about stereotype threat, we'll take both of those words and look at how is it that circumstances, environments, conversations can cause people not to perform at their best. If we use a sports metaphor, and again, all metaphors have a length, so you can't draw them out too far. But if we use sports as a metaphor, we do recognize that athletes are great at what they do, particularly if they're professional athletes, right? They've done their craft, they've honed their craft, they've practiced, they've demonstrated some excellence in that. But every so often, there are stakes that are so high or pressures that have mounted so much that it actually impacts their psyche. And so they don't perform at the level that they have been known to perform, or they wouldn't be a part of that activity, that craft. And we refer to that absence of excellence as choking, right? So high stakes games, high moments of pressure that mounts in an athletic event can trigger people to recognize or to even indulge in self-doubt. And so lots of times there are practices that psychologists and coaches try to take the mental exercises and mindfulness that athletes are encouraged to do so that they can ward off that stereotype threat. And so in this particular session of stereotype threat, in about 45 minutes to about 2 hours, you'll be able to kind of work your work group, your team through a process that helps them recognize what stereotype threat is, how to minimize that in themselves and in others, so that we have an environment where people are working to the top of their intelligence and their potential. Stereotype threat.